Okay, real talk. November 19th, GTA 6. We all counting down. $2 billion in development, 13 years of waiting, probably the biggest entertainment launch in history. But I wanted to say something that's gonna sound insane, right before the biggest single-player game ever made comes out. It might be one of the last of its kind. And I'm not being a doomer about this, I'm being a bookkeeper. Because when you actually look at the numbers, the layoffs, the cancellations, the money, single-player games aren't dying because we stopped wanting them. They're dying because of math. And the math got weirder this year than anyone expected. So let's start with the brutal part. The Game Developers Conference puts out a state of the industry reports every year. This year's landed in January, based on over 2,300 people working in games. One of three American developers said they'd been laid off in the past 2 years. Globally, it's 28%. Half of everyone surveyed said their employer did layoffs in the last 12 months. But here's the number that actually matters for this video. At AAA studios specifically, the ones making the big, expensive, cinematic games, 2/3 of respondents said the company had layoffs. 2/3. At indie studios, it was 1 in 3. So the bigger game, the more likely the people making it lost their jobs. Since 2022, the industry has shed something like 45,000 jobs. Microsoft cut 9,000 people in one go. Ubisoft's been cutting for 2 straight years. Their Barcelona staff walked out on strike this June. Playtika cut 500 jobs in January and said out loud they want to lean on AI instead of headcount. Meanwhile, the industry is making roughly $200 billion a year. Record revenue, record job losses. How does that happen? To understand it, look at what Sony did. In 2022, Sony, the company that built the entire brand on God of War, The Last of Us, Spider-Man, Uncharted, announced they would ship 12 live services games by 2025. 12. They would watch Fortnite print money for 4 years, and they wanted it. Here's where that stands now. 8 of those 12 games were cancelled. The Last of Us Online killed while it was practically finished. Spider-Man, The Great Web, gone. A God of War live service at Bluepoint, cancelled. And Bluepoint itself is being closed. London studio cancelled and shut down entirely. Then there's Concord. That one actually shipped. Sony pulled it from sale after 2 weeks, refunded everyone and closed the studio. Internally, it's talked about as a $400 million mistake. 4 years, 12 games promised. What PlayStation actually has to show for it in 2026 is 2 live service titles, 1 genuine hit in Helldivers and Marot, which got delayed and is limping. And here's the thing people get wrong about this story. Sony didn't kill single player. They just stopped putting it first. Studios that would have been making the next Bloodborne spent 4 years making multiplayer games that got cancelled. That's 4 years of single-player games that simply don't exist. You can't see them, so nobody's angry about them, but they're missing. So why did Sony do it? Why does anyone do it? Simple. Look at the math a publisher sees. A modern AAA single-player game costs somewhere between $100 and $400 million. You sell it once for $70. Maybe a deluxe edition, maybe DLC. Then the player finishes it in 30 hours and never opens again. One transaction, done. Now look at GTA Online. 12 years old. Shark cards alone, the in-game currency, pulled in over $5 billion between 2014 and 2024. This year, data from the Rockstar breach suggests it's still making over $1 million a day. If you're an executive with shareholders, that's not a hard choice. It's not even a choice. But here's the part that changed everything, and I don't think enough people have clocked it. The live service model is breaking too. In March of this year, Epic Games laid over 1,000 people. Epic, the Fortnite company. Tim Sweeney wrote a memo saying downturn in Fortnite engagement that started in 2025 means they're spending significantly more than they're making. He called market conditions the most extreme since he founded the company in 1991. Fortnite peaked at $5.4 billion in 2018. By 2023, it was down to 3.5. The forever game is not, in fact, forever. And then there's a number that reframes this entire conversation. In that Rockstar leak, Across 7 months of data, roughly 4% of GTA players spent any money at all. 4%. The entire industry restructured itself. Cancelled projects, closed studios, laid off tens of thousands of people, chasing a model that monetizes 4 out of every 100 players. And now that model is softening too. So publishers walked away from the thing that reliably works to chase the thing that spectacularly works for a tiny minority. And the bill came due for everyone. Here's what worries me. And it's not that single player disappears. It won't. Nintendo will make Zelda, Rockstar will make GTA, From Software will make From Software games, which we all know. The untouchable franchises are untouchable. What dies is the middle, the mid-budget, slightly weird, ambitious single-player game. The thing that gave us BioShock, Prey, Dishonored, Mass Effect, Titanfall's 2 campaign. A campaign nobody asked for that turned out to be one of the best shooters ever made. Games that weren't safe bets, but weren't million-dollar gambles either. That middle tier is exactly what a risk-averse industry cuts first. You don't cancel Zelda, you cancel the new IP from the team that's never shipped a hit. And the cruel part is that the audience is right there. Claire Obscure Expedition 33 came out of a little French studio and outsold games with 10 times the budget. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Mid-tier studio, historical RPG. No live service, anything. Sold millions. Baldur's Gate 3 was made by people who would never made anything that big. Every one of those was a game an executive could have said no to. Some of them almost were. We don't lose single-player games in a dramatic collapse. We lose them one greenlight meeting at a time. Which brings us back to November 19th. GTA 6 will be the most expensive entertainment product ever made. Estimates run into the billions. 13 years since GTA 5. Take-Two is projecting 8.2 billion in revenue off the back of it. And look at how it's launching. $80 for standard edition. $100 for the ultimate. PS5 and Xbox only. No PC at launch. The physical edition is a code in a box with no disc. Now think about what those numbers mean structurally. The barrier to making a game like this is now so absurdly high that maybe 3 companies on Earth can clear it. That's not a healthy medium. That's a medium with 3 landlords. And here's the part that tells you where this is going. GTA 6's campaign is the headline, but GTA Online is the business. A 12-year-old multiplayer mode still pulling 7 figures a day is not a side project. It's the reason the company can afford 13-year development cycles in the first place. So GTA 6 sells you a single-player experience. Rockstar is building a platform. After launch, the next decade of Rockstar isn't Bully 2 or a new Red Dead. It's GTA Online 2, because that's where the 4% lives. GTA 6 isn't the death of single-player gaming. It's the last time this model gets to look this good. Alright, I'm not ending on doom, because the situation genuinely isn't hopeless. First, the audience is proven, not theoretical. Proven. Clair Obscur, Kingdom Come 2, Baldur's Gate 3, Elden Ring. Every year something single-player massively outperforms, and every year executives act surprised. The demand isn't the problem, the risk tolerance is. Second, and I know how it sounds, day one matters. Publishers don't read your comments, they read week 1 sales. A game that sells immediately gets a sequel greenlight. A game that sells well 18 months later at 75% off gets its studio restructured. That's the whole mechanism. If a single player game looks good to you, buying it in the first week is the only vote that gets counted. Third, pay attention to who's still taking swings. Larian, From Software, Capcom's weirdest projects, Sandfall, Warhorse. These are the studios keeping the format alive, and most of them are not the biggest companies in the room. And honestly, the live service collapse might help. When Fortnite is laying people off and Sony's 12 game plan produced 2 games, the just make a forever game pitch stops sounding like a free money. Sometimes the alternative wins because the alternative fails first. So, are single-player games dying? No. But the era where a publisher would casually spend $300 million on one is closing. and I don't think it reopens on the same terms. GTA 6 lands November 19th, and it's going to be enormous. Enjoy it. I will. Just know you're watching the last act of a particular way of making games, not the beginning of one. Tell me I'm wrong. Seriously, like, place some ideas in the comments. Are we in a decline or a correction? If this was useful, subscribe. Gaming analysis, no hype, no sponsors. See you in the next one.